welcome to Ages Pixels, the best movie show on the internet where we talk about new movies or shows every single week. I'm Rohan, that's Kevin. Let's get into it because today we're talking about the new movie Together, starring Alison Brie and not James Franco, Dave Franco, where they play a couple, and if you've seen the trailer, they are slowly merging together.
Yeah, did I hear that right? You said we're talking about the new movie together, like us, like we're talking together, or wait, the movie title is Together. That's totally not confusing at all.
Yeah,
Um, I gotta say, the first impressions of this movie for me came through with the viral marketing that they had. I know that they didn't have like as viral of a campaign as Weapons, but they started doing these like weird like TikToks with Alison Brie and Dave Franco, who I guess are actually dating or married, and then they're like in
they're
the
married.
park and they're like, yeah, they're doing like a lot of PDA and stuff, and I just thought
Yeah.
that it's funny because I was really excited for the movie, and then those videos came out, and not to be like super negative, but I thought that made me less excited for the movie because I was like, are they trying to like I know this is promotion, but like is it working? I don't know.
I actually didn't see any of those, but I did hear about them. I heard about
Mm.
one with a cat, that I guess scratched up Dave Franco's arm or something like that.
It's funny. I think we're hearing completely different marketing things because I was just seeing them like sloppily like making out in like Central Park or something, um, or yeah, it was just very odd their behavior. But in the weeks leading up to it, I do think that Together has like some of the best posters out there because like it's just really creepy and unsettling, like with the eyelashes being super
Right.
close together. You can see the mouths like sticking together. Their hands, I think, were locked. Like it just did a really good job at like making you excited for the movie.
Oh yeah, I didn't see any of those videos.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Oh, there were
that's
the posters, actually. Sorry.
Oh yeah, yeah, I saw the posters. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah, I know the poster is like actually what really got me um with this movie. I don't remember if I saw a trailer for it in theaters, but I saw the poster every single time, and every time you walk by, it's like, well, that looks creepy. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I think, and there's very few movies that I've seen where I'm just like, based off the poster alone, it's gotten me interested.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually think Weapons kind of has a not very good poster. Um, like it's all right. Like it's a good image, but it's not like something
Yeah,
that creepy. And Cinders is also super basic. It has that like when I'm talking about like with the people are in the front and has the whole cast poster.
yeah, just the
Like
faces of everyone.
I don't know why that is like starting to become like a huge trend, but I think it's not something that I like. I like when movies like take risks with their advertising or take risks with their scripts, and I think that Together did that, but did it do it as well as other horror movies that we've seen this year or in general? Um, I think that's what we should dive into next.
Um, so real quick, just last thing on the posters. I think the trend of hey, just have like all of the actors in it. I think that's a contractual thing
Hmm.
where um where you have to have, like if contractually, if you're an actor and contractually it says hey, you're going to be on the poster, then the studio has to have you on the poster. So I think as a result, when they're just trying to fit everyone, it just you end up getting that like that little inverted pyramid.
Hmm. Yeah, and it is like it's not like it's that unappealing, but it's just the fact that like so many posters are doing it nowadays,
Yeah,
especially like the superhero. But like you can tell that Sinners was like that because of the work on Black Panther and Creed, because
yeah.
that's like what all of those posters are like.
Hmm.
Yeah. So what did you think of this movie?
I'm gonna be honest, I'm still a bit in the middle. Um, Obviously, this is a movie about the two of them kind of fusing together, and um, I think there's a lot that the movie does very well. Well, I don't know if it's visual effects or more prosthetics and all that, but the scenes of them actually like the moments where they're joining, it is they're very effective. They're very um they are creepy, they're gross. I remember that when we were watching it there was actually I think in the middle of the movie a guy just got up and he said, "I'm sorry y'all, I'm done." And then he walked out of the movie.
I
Um
mean, that's the best marketing you can get actually is someone saying, "I'm getting up and leaving because I can't take it anymore."
yeah, it's not even a oh this movie's bad. It's like, nope, this is too much for me.
Mhm.
um so I think it was very effective in that respect. I also think that I actually I actually really like a lot of the editing choices in this movie because I notice a lot of scenes they tend to like it cuts out early, like right when you're like getting right when you're getting into it, right where it feels like the scene is at its like high point. It cuts,
Mhm.
and it leaves a sense of mystery until you get to the next scene. I thought that was a great choice. Um, so I think from the horror perspective, it works. For me, what didn't work was kind of the overall. The relationship, I guess, didn't work for me. I felt like I loved Alison Brie, but I didn't really love James. Or why do I keep saying James Franco? I didn't really love Dave Franco. Um, I felt like they had no chemistry, even though they're married in real life.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that because like I feel like this is not this is not an uncommon thing, I think, lately where we're getting these relationship movies, and I think typically by the end they end up together, but they don't seem like they're happy together. They seem miserable. And they don't seem like the characters are a good fit. Now, I don't know. I would say that chemistry wise, it's really hard to say if it matters that much that Dave and um,
Alison Brie.
Allison Brie, yeah, like, and I think them being like an actual couple and that not translating to screen, that's also pretty common. Um,
Yeah,
just because it's just that's their lives. We don't know it, and they're different people
right.
outside of the movie. But the characters themselves, something about the way that they're written, to me, they're just very I think they're almost too basic to be deep, but also too annoying to be likable. And that's I think the struggle that I had with them in it. Like I actually
Right.
think the performances are good for what they are, but I didn't like the character writing, and I think that's where I'm struggling the most with the movie.
Uh huh. Yeah, it does feel like it does feel like there is also a little bit too much, or like there's just stuff added for the sake of
Hmm.
it being added. Like I know you have a little bit of Dave Franco's backstory, um, which I mean I don't know. For me, it didn't really add much. It was a really creepy image, and I thought it was going to come back. I thought there was going to be something to relate it to the solution at the end, but then it didn't really amount to anything. I almost feel that you could have cut out a lot of the fluff, and this could have been like a 1 hour Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah.
Okay,
I yeah, no, I it did feel like a Twilight Zone style episode. I was actually thinking that a lot of the way through, especially because a lot of Twilight Zone episodes like the pacing of this movie,
right.
I think it's not very quick to reveal why things are happening. And I think that's another disconnect for me is like there's a lot of strange things happening to um Dave Franco's character, which unfortunately it's been a little bit, so I don't remember his name, but we'll say
Hmm.
Dave. And he even though he's clearly struggling like mentally, it very much seems like Alison Brie's character is not like there for him at all and doesn't really want to help at all, despite all of the strange occurrences. Um, for those who have not seen it, encourage you to watch the movie before we dive into spoilers. But um, they find this magical cave where after they get stuck, they drink this water, and that causes them to accidentally like kind of fuse together. And it's like a slow process.
Yeah.
And the longer that it goes, I think the worse it gets. Actually, I think it's just Dave that he was affected by because she wasn't acting that way until um, afterward.
I wonder if it's because he was the first one to drink the water.
Yeah,
Um,
because she didn't drink any, and I think because they end up basically what ends up happening is he is very he's like, oh, I think he's getting ready to leave on a train, and
yeah.
he wants to go on this like tour for his music career, but then his body kind of takes over for him and sends him to her elementary school where they go to
Yep.
the bathroom and they do stuff together. And I think that's where she got kind of like infected with it.
Yeah. Yeah. That is, I think, potentially when it happens, and I know that, but I know even before that there was like right when they wake up, um, their legs were stuck together, and they had to like really yank it apart.
Yeah.
But I know that there is stuff like him being affected by her, which I think the shower sequence was really I just loved the way the camera was like spinning alongside
Hmm.
Dave Franco. I thought visually it was a really cool sequence.
I did too. I thought that scene was a really cool sequence. I also liked there was a lot of dream like moments in this movie where you couldn't really tell like what was real and what was a dream. I think that um sorry to
Hmm.
keep comparing to weapons, but weapons, it was very obvious when there was a dream sequence happening. In this
Yeah.
movie, they actually do a pretty good job of like avoiding it. But there's just like one where Alison Brie wakes up and you're kind of like not sure if this is really happening, and then the light when she finally turns on the light, he's been like chewing on her hair, and her hair's like down his throat. I thought that
Oh
was
yeah.
a really scary scene because just just the shock of like trusting someone like in your space like that, and then you wake up to find them like that is like, oh, it's so awful.
Yeah. That's the other thing. All right. So there is another side character in this movie. It's a fellow teacher at Brie's school, and we learned that and he and his husband were part of this cult that they drink the water, and they believe in Plato's version of marriage where humans are supposed to be together. I did not fact check this. I don't know if Plato actually said this, by the way. But if it is, I think it's a really cool detail that came through research that they put in. But we learned that he's gone through this.
Hmm.
I kind of did see it coming, but I did enjoy the character for the most part. Um,
He was pretty quirky. I did also see it
yeah,
coming that he was definitely involved. I didn't know how. Um,
yeah,
but I think that the way that they revealed, like clue wise, was clever. I mean, it was just like subtle details that you could miss up until they start to realize, and when she goes back to the house for her keys, like that's when it's like it's supposed to be obvious to the audience. But I think I
hmm,
figured it out about the time that he was like, "Oh, I've got this tape I want to show you," and it's like,
yeah,
the fact that that is even said and then not brought up again. Just again, like this is another moment where it's like being a writer, like it ruins the movie for you because you know something's coming.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think that was the first time she goes to his house, and that's when
Hmm.
I'm like, all right, I think he is part of the cult. And of course he was. Um,
Hmm. Actually, I wanted to ask you, do you ever get those moments where, as a writer, you're like, I saw it coming because of things that I know from writing specifically, not just from watching a lot of movies? Because like, there's like everyone watches movies predictably, but then there's also like being like close to the industry, knowing a lot of like tips and like timing of the movie, like when things will pop up. Like not just this movie, but like, have you ever felt like an experience was ruined because of how much knowledge you have on the subject?
yeah, especially when it comes to lines of dialogue, it's like there are certain things where it's like that has to come back or that is leading
Hmm.
somewhere. I think the example I go to is Spider-Man: Far From Home. This is the one with Jake Gyllenhaal. Um, Spoiler alert: Jake Gyllenhaal is the villain of that movie. This movie that came out like this was pre-COVID actually, I think. Um, so yeah, like in 2019. But you know, there was speculation: is he going to be a villain? Is he not going to be a villain? Because I think the character in the comics is a villain, but I was not familiar with the character in the comics at all. But when
Hmm.
I was watching the movie with a couple of my friends, in the middle of the movie, there is, you know, Peter Parker says something, um, and then he apologizes, and Jake Gyllenhaal immediately looks at him and says, "Never apologize for being the smartest person in the room." Um, which Peter takes as a compliment, and everyone is like, "Yeah, mentor," and I'm like, "Oh, that is that is a villain line." He would only say that if he's a villain. And he's
Hmm.
probably, and when he's saying that, he probably believes he is the smartest person in that room. And sure enough, that's what happens. He's the villain, and he believed that he could fool everybody. Uh, so, so yeah, there's like those small moments sometimes where it gives it away, but I don't necessarily think it ruins the experience. Because then I think it has led me to um, really appreciate other movies
Hmm.
in a way that I think many people who aren't like really into the industry wouldn't appreciate.
Right. Yeah, I mean maybe full blown like it ruins the experience is a bit of an exaggeration. But I do think it can like ruin the twist, which for
Yeah.
some people like the twist is everything. And I mean, I do think that is that does kind of lead into like this ending where it's like we kind of you're kind of knowing what direction the movie's going in, and there's really only two possible endings. Either they're going to figure out a way to beat it, or
Mhm.
you're gonna see what happens when they fuse. Um, so yeah,
And they fused.
yeah. um, they looked like Frida Kahlo by the end, like the artist with the unibrow
Yeah.
and everything. Um, and it was kind of okay. I think this movie is made. I think one thing that I don't give this movie enough credit for is like it is really funny.
It
Um,
is.
like in a very dark and like body horror centric way, but it's still really
Uh,
funny. And I think that ending is the only like is like the ultimate just like f you to the audience because it's like all of that build up for this
or
character who is just says one line says like hey.
yeah. um, yeah, it did feel a little unsatisfying to me because of like they're trying to figure it out. They're working to try and make sure they don't, and then at the end, it feels like they just give up. And I do understand that it's like, hey, it's a they weren't married, but it's a relationship that's falling apart, and this is how they stay together. And I don't know why it just didn't feel like the relationship really rekindled, and I think that's why. I think that's why for me it doesn't work. I think if I had the feeling of like, yes, they did give in to becoming together and becoming one person, um, but throughout that process, their relationship was healed. I think it would have worked for me. Um, but I didn't feel like the relationship got healed. At least maybe the movie wanted you to think that, but I didn't feel it.
That yeah, no, that's what I think too. Is like I think the movie felt like it had resolved what it needed to, but it didn't really. I don't think that there was no one really admitted what they did wrong. Like they said I'm
Right.
sorry, but they didn't really get to that point. And I do think that they did set it up in a way where they could have just with a couple more lines of resolution, they could have done
Yeah.
it. But they didn't get there either because they had too many plot beats to hit in the last act or because they just didn't get to the point of like they could. Um, but who knows? Maybe in the sequel, Together, it will resolve everything. That was such a bad pun, but I had to throw
It's
it in.
okay. I was trying to think of Fast and Furious naming conventions where it's together and then two together or something like that because Too Fast, Too Furious. But
um, together to Tokyo Drift. I don't know. That's all. Yeah.
yeah, or whatever the town is
Um,
called.
what would you say was the biggest standout element for you in this movie?
For me, it's got to be it's got to be the bathroom sequence when he's showering and she's driving. Um,
Hmm.
because it's obviously we get the fact that like, hey, if she turns left, he goes he goes left. If she turns right, he goes right. Um, but then I just thought the editing was really good, and then I thought the way the camera moved because the camera moved alongside of him. So when he was slamming into the wall, it's just you felt that impact. Um, for me, it's that, and of course, as I said, I think the actual scary sequences are very well done.
Yeah, I mean, I could say the same for just about any scary sequence, but I'm gonna go with the one that happens at night when they both go to separate beds and then they get drawn to each other in the hallway. That's where most of the comedy for me comes from, and also like a lot of the body, like physical stuff. I think
Yeah.
for me, the thing that really started to get under my skin was literally when their hands were starting to fuse, and it was like that you could see like the bone like slowly curling up the arm. It was just
Yeah.
like so nasty. And then they're both funny actors, so they're giving like really good like
Uh-huh.
quips. But it actually feels like a moment where quips would be right because it's almost so ridiculous that it's
Right.
funny, but it's still scary. And so it's nice to have that like levity and not feel like too forced. So that's where I would stand with it. Yeah.
Yeah, the humor did feel it felt very situational. It's not like it it didn't feel like Marvel humor where they're making
Mhm.
um where they're actively making jokes in the middle of a battlefield. Um
Right.
they're reacting to the situation and just their reactions happen to be funny.
Hmm. All right. Well, with that, should we get into our ratings?
Yeah, let's do it. So as a reminder, or if you're new here, the way we score things at Pages Pixels is on the script cover scale. There's pass when we think the movie's not so good, consider when we think it's decent, and recommend when we think it's great. So with that said, how do you rate together?
Um, I think I'm gonna give it a consider, but it's a little bit of a weak consider. It's got lots of great body horror and good comedy, and personally, like I think that the performances are very suitable for this. Like I hate Dave Franco's character, but I also hate Dave Franco, so it's kind of easy to hate. But I do think that the movie, like when it comes to the writing and the execution of everything at the end of the day, I just am not as sold on it. I feel like they had a lot more that they could have explored, maybe with more time or less focus on the teacher character. I think that they could have done, even though he was great. Like I just think some
Right.
things were not adding up by the end, even though they technically subtracted because they became one.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I'm also gonna give it a consider. Um I think for me where it works is we touched on it, the scary stuff. But the reason I wouldn't give it necessarily the reason why I wouldn't say this movie is great is because um for me there's kind of two benchmarks that a horror movie needs to hit. First benchmark is, does it give you the thrills? Yes, it did. Second benchmark is how I often look at it is, would I like this movie even if it wasn't a horror movie? For example, with Weapons, I would like Weapons even without the horror elements because it's still an interesting um, mystery with a cool with great characters. I think for me that's where this movie doesn't quite hit that. Where if this were just a romantic drama about these two characters, I don't think I would have enjoyed it very much. Uh,
No.
but it was still good enough in terms of giving me the thrills that it's a consider, solid consider for me.
It's one of those movies that I think will do really well after its release. Um, but I know that scores have been pretty mixed all over. Like Letterboxd is like a 3.4, which isn't bad, but I
Right.
think it could do better elsewhere. Maybe it'll be a cult classic someday.
Uh huh.
Um, yeah. What else have you been watching?
Yeah. Um, so I know I mentioned this in the past, uh, but I finally finished the show, so I want to bring it up again, and that's Full Metal Alchemist. Um, I thought the show was great. I do think season five, which is the final season, is the weakest of the seasons. Not because they go in directions that I don't like, but rather because it is kind of all action, and I felt I preferred the story stuff. But there's still enough story and there's still enough character work that for me they just stick the landing quite well. And when I evaluate the show as a whole, it's an awesome show.
Yeah, I still got to check it out, I think. So,
Yeah,
the
Brotherhood.
rest of it.
That's the one
So,
I watched specifically. I always forget
mhm.
there's two versions. Haven't seen the regular Full Metal Alchemist, but Brotherhood is the one that everyone says is better and
Mhm.
sticks to the manga. So that's what I watched.
Yeah, I still have to check out the rest because I think I got up to season 2 or 3 before I ended up dropping off, but it wasn't because I didn't like it. It was just kind of like I was watching with a group of
Yeah.
friends and then it kind of just like died off just due to timing. So, when I get back into it and I finish it, I will let you know.
Awesome. Can't wait.
For me, well, for one, I recently watched War of the Worlds 2025. Um, I if you really like Amazon, you will love this movie. Because they love talking about Amazon and how you can use drones to fly things
Yep.
around. And Ice Cube gives a horrendous performance. Um, but I think they knew that, right? Like, apparently, this movie's been in production for like maybe like 6 or 7 years or something crazy like
Yeah.
that. And it looks like it was made with like $10, and probably $5 of that is an Amazon gift card. So I don't know. what the deal is with that, but um, it was just it was very funny in a you're laughing at it way, but there's also just so much like nothing happening and repetition, and the effects are really bad. There's not really anything to this.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Is it? It's okay to have a stinker movie. Um, Other than that, I recently watched Gozu, which would be probably like my recommendation for this movie. Um, I was in a channel with a bunch of friends who, I would say that the close comparison between Together and Kozu is the ending, so I don't want to spoil it, but it does involve kind of like a new person or rebirthing of some kind. Um, and it's very gross, very body horror. So if you like Together, you will probably like Gozu.
Mhm. If you want to give another recommendation, which I know most people who watch a show like this probably have already seen it, The Substance. If you haven't seen it, um, that is awesome body horror,
Mhm.
and in my opinion, way more disgusting than Together.
See, I'm so torn on that because I think Together unsettled me more. Like I was able to get past, like the substance is so silly, like
Yeah.
it didn't feel that real. But I mean, they're both kind of in the same vein, right? With like things like bubbling underneath your body.
Yep.
Uh, I think the substance is obviously a better movie and has more
I
gross
agree.
moments. But I think Together just disturbs me on another level. Like something about that. The concept of drinking gross cave water is really frightening to me.
Yep. Especially because it was raining, so just like collect the collect the water from the
Oh, but
rain.
that would require them to be smart, Rohan. You can't let them do that. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. I'm Kevin, and that's Rohan, and we'll see you guys next week for another episode. Thank you.